So welcome to a Daredevil Born Again little discussion video. The premiere just aired. I got up for it. I'm very, very excited. I'm not very happy that I now have to wait an entire week to find out what else is going to happen. Not used to that. That's very different. Before we get too far into this, as you can see on the screen, and it'll be on the other screen as well in case you somehow missed it, but there are going to be big spoilers in this. We're going no holds barred with it. I'm just going to be talking about this straight up. we need to have an in-depth discussion about this 2-episode premiere for the show because wow. So just for a little bit of context before we do jump into it, I did watch the first 3 seasons. I watched The Defenders. I watched the first season of Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. I know what happened in those shows, and I rated Daredevil on my tier list. If you want to go check out that video, then go ahead. But I rated Daredevil on my tier list as being the best MCU show. Now, it wasn't always MCU, of course. It did reference the MCU. There was a bit of a back and forth where the MCU didn't really acknowledge it, but it kind of existed in there, and then they officially brought him in. So, it's all canon now. And wow. So, let's get into it. So, the first episode is literally absolutely perfect in my opinion. I loved it. I don't care if I'm going to get called a shill. I'm very easily pleased when it comes to Marvel stuff. I won't lie. I probably am a little bit more easygoing and a little bit more forgiving towards Marvel stuff. I just enjoy seeing comic book characters and superheroes depicted on screen. But this was completely next level. Especially in the era of superhero stuff that we're in. It felt so nice to just be back watching Daredevil again. The introduction for this, the first 20 minutes before the credits even hit, is so insane. It starts off with them in the bar. They're having a nice little chit chat and it's like the old times, and then suddenly boom, everything goes wrong. We get a classic long shot, a one shot kind of thing where the camera doesn't really pull away. There was a couple of moments in there where you can see where they might have clipped and cut it, but it was a continuous shot. I don't know how long it was for, of Bullseye attacking the bar where Matthew, Foggy, and Karen are. Now, we seemingly are just picking straight up from the end of season 3, but it doesn't seem to be essential viewing. So if you haven't seen the first 3 seasons, this show is doing a pretty good job of giving you enough exposition to catch up without making it too, it doesn't exclude anybody, I don't think. I'm not sure because I have seen them, so it would be nice to know from somebody who hasn't seen the first 3 seasons, what's it like? Because I know that there are quite a few people out there that are coming into this completely fresh. But obviously we've seen Kingpin and we've seen Matt before appear in other projects. We saw him in Spider-Man, Echo, Hawkeye. They've been here. These are characters that we know at this point. But now they're center stage. Seeing Karen and Foggy, though, completely new. I don't think Foggy's death is going to hit. Yeah, Foggy dies. I don't think Foggy's death is going to hit quite as hard for people that haven't seen the first 3 seasons. But the people that have, my god, it hits hard. So, right off the bat, Foggy gets shot. It's like the first action sequence kicks off with that. And the choice to do that is insane. And it didn't quite hit me at first. I was like, oh my god, he just got shot. Is he gonna die? Because I went into this expecting either Karen or Foggy to die, because the way that Charlie Cox has spoken about the show, he's been saying that they make a decision that he wasn't necessarily happy with, but it's just one that the creative made and he's agreeing to go along with it. So that kind of heavily suggested that they were killing somebody off that he didn't agree with. Specifically because he didn't agree with it and he likes the Daredevil comics, that did heavily suggest that it would be Foggy. I don't think he would necessarily care as much about Karen dying, which sounds a little bit bad, but I think if you read the comics and stuff, Foggy is well regarded a lot more than Karen. And I think even within the show, there's a lot of people that don't like her character and stuff. I personally quite like her character, and I think that she's had some great arcs and stuff. And I was quite upset, actually, to see that she's taking a back seat during these first 2 episodes. I don't know whether or not she is going to come back. She's kind of just been written out of the show. She's off living in San Francisco. Who knows if we'll see her again? I'm sure that we will see her again, but it's just a matter of when and who is she going to be with. So yeah, that whole introduction sequence, Bullseye assaulting the club, or the pub rather, that the trio were in, immediately shooting like 3 people in a row outside of the bar, one of them being Foggy. Foggy goes down, Karen is like immediately there. I can't remember if we got Bullseye saying hello Karen like he did in season 3. I really hope that he did. I don't recall him doing that though. And then of course we get this amazing sequence, the long shot of Daredevil and Bullseye fighting their way through the pub back and forth. Bullseye is like tearing through people as he's fighting Daredevil. Daredevil is becoming like a human pincushion because Bullseye is just throwing knives into his chest, into his back. It's insane. Daredevil is just tanking all of it. Usually I would question it, but it was such an epic sequence that I don't care. The lighting and the actual visuals for this all the way through were great. And again, you cannot beat a one-shot. I love a one-shot. I like when it's done well. Atomic Blonde has an amazing one-shot. All the other Daredevil seasons have great one-shots. The one-shot in Prey is great. I love a good one-shot. It's an easy way to win me over. So the fight ends up going to the rooftop, and this entire time that they're fighting, they flicker between Matt listening to the fight and listening to Bullseye and listening to Karen and listening to Foggy. And every so often, you can hear Foggy's heartbeat, you can hear Karen panicking, and it flickers back and forth. And they do this amazing thing throughout both episodes, but mostly episode 1, where it really shows you how important Matt's hearing is and how strong it can be when he focuses in on one specific thing. And they use it here to kind of build up tension between the fight and is Foggy going to survive. And it's done really, really well. The fight makes its way up to the rooftop. It's not really a showdown of sorts, it's just a very cool kind of re-emergence of Daredevil as he does a very comic booky pose, and Bullseye is just spent at that stage. Daredevil takes him out, and you can tell that Bullseye is just like done, but Daredevil keeps going. They're on the edge of the rooftop, and it pans down, and Foggy dies. He like zooms in on Foggy's heartbeat and you hear it stop. It's so well done. And again, like if you watch the first 3 seasons, I feel like you've got such an emotional connection to that character. You kind of, especially with the scene that they show you right at the very beginning of them like just bantering around. That's all like stuff that they would have done in the first season. It puts you right back in there and then boom, he's gone straight away. It's mental. But yeah, it ends, that whole introductory sequence ends with Foggy's death, and Matt just throws Bullseye off of the building. Now, I don't know what the scenario is with Bullseye's adamantium spine. Obviously, we saw him getting some sort of spine enhancement in Daredevil Season 3. I don't know whether or not they're going to say, the adamantium spine is the only reason that Bullseye's alive right now. I don't even know if we're going to see Bullseye for the rest of the season. But it was a really, really great introduction. It was really great for, obviously, the people that watch Season 3 that are jumping into this, hoping for a Season 4. It kind of delivered on that. But then as soon as the credits rolled, we get a time jump. Suddenly, we're a year later. We skip past the whole grieving process. We are jumping straight into the court hearing for Bullseye. And we skip all of the... It's like, boom, you're emotional, now let's move on. But in that same gist, it's kind of like the first 20 minutes is like a nice goodbye to the first 3 seasons and a welcome into this new show. Because it is different. It's not different in a bad way, and it's not different, I don't think, in a good way. I think it's consistently just the same. but it's got a slightly different tone to it. I think quality-wise, it feels the same as the Netflix show. And this, I think it's maybe the writing that feels a little bit different, but I don't know. There's something there, sort of tonally and stuff. I think visually as well, it feels a little bit different. They are a lot flashier with the visuals, but they also look a lot more comic booky, or at least I think they do. There's a lot of shots, and especially in that first episode, where you can just pause it and it looks like it could be a comic book panel or a double-page comic book spread. So yeah, I think it's really interesting that they've decided to sort of like soft reboot the show. It's sort of like all of that is still canon, but it doesn't necessarily matter because we're now looking at a new thing. And I've seen people say, they're doing the whole Mayor Fisk storyline, and how can they do that after Daredevil season 3 it undermines it and stuff. Look, at the end of the day, it's comic books. People don't stay dead. People don't stay in prison. There are variants, there are different ways to get around things, but they've established now all of that is canon, and it's just a simple case of this is a comic book universe where somebody that has, been proven to have publicly killed multiple people can now run for mayor. It's not really that unrealistic in this universe compared to some of the other stuff that has happened. And they're doing the whole Mayor Fisk storyline really great so far, and they're zooming through it way quicker than I expected. So for anybody that saw the ending of Echo, we kind of saw Wilson Fisk get the idea to become mayor, and literally within these first 2 episodes, he is now mayor. He starts off not mayor, and then suddenly, boom, he's won the election for it, and that caught me completely off guard. I was not expecting that at all. But yeah, that's the storyline that we are going to be running with, it seems, throughout the season. I do think it's going to take a bit of a backseat, though. In terms of, if we just jump back to that opening sequence, and some of the other sequences that were also in this first episode, again, the first episode I think was a little bit more action-heavy and felt a little bit more like a woo, let's go, let's get into things. Whereas the second one was a little bit slower and a little bit more like, right, this is the show that we're doing now. But in that first episode, especially during the action, you can kind of see touch-ups with the CGI and things. There's, again, even though they are flashier with the visuals, you can tell some of it is CGI. I don't personally mind. There's one scene of him parkouring across a rooftop that's being gifted at the moment and compared to the final swing in No Way Home, and a lot of people are saying it doesn't really look great. It looks, yeah. I don't think it looks bad. I think it looks pretty good. Again, I get happy that he looks like he does in the comics. I don't really care about much else. I don't care if the CGI is like ropey in some sections and stuff. There was some things that were CGI'd that I were a little bit surprised were CGI'd, like certain parts of the fight that they had. It looked like sort of as they zoomed out, there were some CGI touch-ups on their models and things. Like especially when they're on the roof, they look a bit CGI-y, and I thought that was a little bit strange. But yeah, I don't know. That's just the approach that they're taking with the show. I don't think it takes anything away from the show or the quality of the show. The cinematography during this was just brilliant. It was just so well done. There's a particular scene right at the very end of the episode where Matt is walking through smoke that is being kind of backlit by what looks like neon lights, red neon lights, and he's walking through it, and then it pans up to Fisk on the top of a building. I don't know if they were meant to kind of be looking at each other, but it was kind of suggested that they were looking at each other. Kingpin now at the highest point that he can be as mayor of the city, Daredevil at his lowest after he's lost both of his friends. It was a cool shot and stuff, but visually, like, if you just froze both of those, they just look great on their own. Whoever the cinematographer for this is brilliant. They're doing such a good job. There was another scene as well where, because we got the return of Vanessa, Kingpin goes to Vanessa and they're talking in this, this warehouse where they're having a deal about something. It looks like an art deal or something. I don't know what it is. But it shows the reflection of Fisk in the table. And in the reflection of Fisk, you can see the LED lighting in the background kind of looks like a halo over Kingpin's head. And it does give the impression that he's, at least for a second, trying to be a good guy. But you see very quickly then in the second episode when he blackmails somebody with their wife and child that no, he's not a good guy. he's completely delusional in thinking that he can be, and he's just got severe daddy issues. There's a lot going on with Fisk in these first 2 episodes. We also got White Tiger. White Tiger, I'm not familiar with White Tiger too much. I'm guessing, based off of just the stuff that we're told within the show, he puts on the amulet, he gets powers. I don't know what specifically, but it seems like when he's got the amulet and the costume on, kind of like Moon Knight style, he gets a little bit more enhanced, he can do a little bit more. I don't really know. I'm assuming we're going to get either a fight between Daredevil and White Tiger, or Daredevil and White Tiger taking somebody on. That would be pretty sick. But yeah, White Tiger's included in this. I suppose, I don't know, again, I'm not a big fan. I don't really know White Tiger. But this is my complete first exposure to him. But I'm sure that people that are fans of him are happy to see him here, because he is used quite well and he's an important part of the story moving forward, it seems like. So we've got the whole kind of back and forth where, you know, Kingpin is now mayor. He's insisting to eradicate superheroes and vigilantes in New York. He's tired of people running around in suits and stuff. We get a nice little back and forth between Matt Murdock and Kingpin as they meet in a diner. Kingpin, you know, straight up calls out Matt on a couple of things and vice versa. It's a very, very good scene. It's probably my favourite written scene out of the entire first 2 episodes. I think, like, in terms of 2 people sitting down and talking about something, that was really, really well done. We also see BB Ulrich? God, I can't even speak. BB Ulrich, yes. The niece of Ben Ulrich from season 1, who was like the journalist guy that helped Karen and was killed by Wilson Fisk. And I think it's going to be very, very interesting moving forward. What is that revelation? Because they kind of hinted towards it. You know, what is that revelation going to be like for her character moving forward? Because at the moment, she's kind of showing the perspective of the people of New York and why they would even vote for Fisk. So she's kind of being used as some nice little world building there for like the condition that New York is currently in, and I quite like that. But I want to see where her story goes and why she's so significant moving forward. We also we got a little bit of a tease towards, I wouldn't say the end of episode 2, but sort of like the middle to back end of episode 2. We got a tease for Muse. So Muse, he's being played by a guy from the Wednesday show. I think his name is Hunter Doohan, I think. And he attended the book signing for a psychologist that Matt is kind of like semi-dating, I guess. And it's all about, you know, living without fear. And he goes there and gets a book signed, and it's our first exposure to him. We don't fully know who he is or what he's doing. We also see him do some little Banksy art of Kingpin, which I think is also pretty interesting. Wonder if that art is made out of certain anatomical things. I don't know. That's the only thing I know about Muse, is that he's an artist that uses human body parts. So that's going to be interesting moving forward. But yeah, overall, like, these first 2 episodes were brilliant. Really enjoyed it. Again, the second episode is a lot slower and more the usual pace, I think, of the Netflix show, because the Netflix show was, it kind of like moved at a weird pace where it would show you some cool action sequences, but then it would have like these really nice like one-on-one back and forth character interactions that then came into play a lot later on. And overall, it found a way to balance those pretty well, and I'm interested to see if moving forward this does the same. We saw in episode 2 a little hint towards the Punisher. It seems like there are some nasty cops that are adopting the Punisher's hate for crime and kind of, I don't know, adopting the insignia and the persona of the Punisher. I don't know much about like whether or not that's a storyline in the comics, But it's going to be very interesting again moving forward. We know we're getting Frank in a later episode. There's an episode called like Semper something, but I think that's like episode 6 or 7. I hope we don't have to wait that long to see Frank. We also get, of course, a name drop from Wilson Fisk to Spider-Man. He drops a Punisher one, but the Spider-Man one is also pretty cool. I mean, my hope for this moving forward is that we build to either a street-level Avengers team on Disney Plus taking on Wilson Fisk, or a street-level Avengers team taking on Fisk in a film. I think we should do Devil's Reign. I don't know fully the extent of what the Devil's Reign arc covers from the comics, but I think that they need to do some sort of like Daredevil leading a team, you know, whether or not that's got Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Jessica Jones in, and, you know, it's a rehash of the Defenders but throw Spider-Man in, whatever. I think that they are building towards something clearly here with Fisk. If the rumours for Thunderbolts are true, then there's more stuff going on in New York. I don't want to mention anything just in case it is, but there are leaks about Thunderbolts that are going to make New York a very, very interesting place. And I think a team of Avengers is going to have to assemble to take down Fisk. I'm very, very excited for it. I don't think we're going to get any of it until after Secret Wars, but I think it's very, very cool that they're already working on Season 2. They clearly had good faith in this show. And I've got no reason not to enjoy it so far. I think it's really, really cool. The only downside to it, and it's the last point on my little list, is the weekly release schedule. I think that's going to be really tough, especially considering we're so used to, not so much in recent time because they do it in parts now, but Netflix, they drop the whole season. We're used to seeing 13, maybe 10 hours of Daredevil just all at once and sitting and binging it. I would have done the whole season today if I could have. But unfortunately, I can't. Got to wait weekly for it. But I don't know whether or not maybe that's going to work. Maybe they've restructured the show enough so that it's going to be worth it each week. Because I remember with the original show, there were a couple of episodes that not a lot would have happened in terms of being worth the wait for a week, because whatever happened would have benefited the next episode. And 2 weeks is way too long, so I'm hoping that it's not the same case with this. I'm really hoping that we can pick up the pace, and I hope that this trends week in, week out, and the chatter and buzz around it remains. Do I think we're going to get Spider-Man? No, don't be ridiculous. Some people are bringing that up and saying that they think Spider-Man's going to be in the show. I think that's absolutely awful that people are setting themselves up like that for that kind of level of disappointment. Did you not watch Hawkeye? Do I think that there are still other surprises? Yes. I think that we might see some cameos from characters that we do not know about yet, and that makes me very, very excited. I would also really like to see Punisher appear in the Thunderbolts. I don't know whether or not they can do that, but if they can do that, that would be nice. That would be really nice. Just like an end stinger of boom, Punisher's here. We just saw him in Daredevil weeks ago, and boom, he's already in the Thunderbolts. That would be amazing, because we've got some nice synergy here going from Captain America introducing Adamantium. If they can name drop Adamantium as being the reason that Bullseye's even alive from falling off of that building because of his adamantium spine, brilliant, we've got some synergy going on. And then stick Punisher in Thunderbolts, and you've got a whole 4-month streak of MCU content that is all interlocked and interconnected, and we've got some cohesiveness going on for once in this phase of MCU. But yeah, let me know what you thought about this show. I thought so far very good, but again, I'm gonna really, really struggle with the week to week. The week to week is gonna be tough. I'm really hoping that also the fans don't turn on this show just because it's on Disney Plus and just because they know some of the backstage, behind-the-scenes drama kind of stuff, because that happens way too frequently. And again, don't hate the show just because, Spider-Man doesn't show up. It's ridiculous. So many people dogging on it. But yeah, really interested to see what they do with Fisk. It's almost like a dual protagonist kind of thing. Like, we're following Fisk and Matt Murdock, at the same time, going down two separate paths, kind of parallel to each other. So I'm very excited for it. Again, let me know what you thought down below. Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? Did you watch the original show? And if you didn't, did you still enjoy this first 2 episodes? Did you have any issues jumping into it? I would be very interested to find out. But thank you for listening to me ramble about this, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.